Right now at 6:30, a ceasefire has come to the Middle East after a technical delay between Israel and Hamas. The details and when we might see the hostages returned is coming up. Plus, hundreds marched through Madison Saturday as part of the nationwide People's March. What they have to say ahead of Donald Trump's inauguration. This is Weekend Mornings, and thanks for joining us here on this Sunday morning. I'm Kyle Pazorski. It is January the 19th. Let's start with a look at the first warn forecast, and Jacob Montesano has that. Good morning, Jacob.
Good morning, Kyle. And alert day conditions have begun. It is very cold out there. -2 right now in Madison, most of the area below zero. And these are just the actual temperatures. If we look at the current wind speeds, they are a bit breezy as well, which is causing the wind chills to be very, very cold. Right now, -17 for Madison, -27 for La Crosse, -33 is the current wind chill up in Eau Claire. And these wind chills are not going anywhere for the next couple of days. We're going to continue to see bitterly cold temperatures throughout the area, not just in the morning, but also the afternoon. Looking at the temperature change from 24 hours ago, over 20 degrees colder, and it is noticeable if you step outside. So the alert day condition, as I mentioned, has begun. It's going to continue all the way through Tuesday. May have to extend it into Wednesday morning as well. We'll have wind chills between -15 and possibly as low as -35 at times. And again, this is going to include the afternoon hours. So as we look at the actual temperatures, they're going to get just barely above zero, but breezy conditions will continue, so wind chills will remain well below zero throughout the entire day, and that's going to be the case for La Crosse as well, as actual temperatures, again, just struggling to get above zero. I'll continue talking about the forecast for Monday and Tuesday, but it's going to be very similar, but more details coming up a bit later.
All right, Jacob, thank you. We'll check back in just a bit. Some of the top stories we're following this morning. First, a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas is now in effect. The truce did, however, come at a delay. Hamas said there was a technical delay in delivering the names of 3 hostages due to be released to Israel. Israeli strikes took place after the originally planned ceasefire start time, and those strikes killed at least 13 Palestinians and wounded 30 others. It is believed that the hostages will be released around 8 a.m. Central Time. Here in the U.S., TikTok has been officially banned. The social media app went dark Saturday night, less than 2 hours before the ban was slated to go into effect. Visitors to the app were greeted with a message reading, "Sorry, TikTok isn't available right now." President-elect Donald Trump said he will most likely delay the ban for 90 days once he takes office on Monday. Here in Madison, people are making their voices heard ahead of Trump's second inauguration. The People's March brought out hundreds in protest Saturday as part of the nationwide day of action. Our Ellie La Liberté shares why.
Protests like this one are happening around the country, and from people I spoke to, it's not a movement of one, but a movement of many.
We have to protect each other because no one's coming to help us.
Shut it down! From James Madison Park to the Capitol Rotunda, hundreds of people came out for the People's March in Madison.
And there are people coming from all over the state to join us today.
I'm from Custer, Wisconsin.
And I'm from Fond du Lac, Wisconsin.
Marching for causes like women's, abortion, immigrant, and transgender rights.
It all needs to be addressed.
But all of us together. And we have to all come together for each other.
Mia Kurzer called for the march.
I felt like it was important to really show that we are a community, and there are bigger people's marches like DC or Chicago, but it's so important to know community and to find community within the Madison area itself.
The event, notably just 2 days away from Donald Trump's inauguration.
People are getting anxious, people are getting nervous, people are starting to, realize what's going to be in store for us the next 4 years.
It is kind of scary, too, of what's going to happen. Nobody knows. We're all kind of holding our breath.
But the overall mission of the march.
And we're here to defend everybody.
Reporting at the state capitol, Ellie La Liberté, News 3 Now.
Ellie, thank you. And we're now taking a live look at the nation's capital, where in less than 30 hours, Donald Trump will be sworn in as the 47th president of the United States and become only the second ever to serve non-consecutive terms. Due to frigid temperatures expected in D.C. tomorrow, the inauguration ceremony will be held inside the Capitol instead of the traditional West Front. And of course, it's an event that typically only comes every 4 years. Later today on For the Record, we sit down with several Wisconsin Republicans who are in the nation's capital for this historic event. One of those is State Republican Party Chair Brian Schimming. He's meeting with some of his national Republican colleagues ahead of tomorrow's inauguration. Our Will Keneally spoke with him about what to expect from a new Trump administration for folks watching back here in Wisconsin.
You know, I think there's a lot of emphasis on getting off to a fast start. No doubt about that in my mind whatsoever. People want action quickly. I mean, we've had kind of previews from Trump administration folks, not on specifics, but just reinforcing the fact that they want to get off to a fast start on Monday.
And you can see more from our interview later today at 10:30 on For the Record. Then tomorrow, News 3 Now will sit down with U.S. Senator Ron Johnson for reaction and expectations for the new Trump administration. Staying in Washington, with the inaugural events being moved indoors, many supporters of Trump have been left disappointed, hoping to see the swearing in, but now they are trying to execute a new plan to take it all in. Matthew Torres reports.
As supporters for President-elect Donald Trump descend on the nation's capital from all over the country, many are wondering how the inauguration will play out now that it's moving indoors.
A lot of people came down there. They want to see him get inaugurated, so it is a disappointment.
Trump announced on Truth Social that he will be sworn into office inside the Capitol because of brutally cold temperatures expected Monday. The last time the swearing-in ceremony took place inside was for President Ronald Reagan's second term in 1985.
I'm willing to stand out there. I'm hoping other people are willing to stand out there as well.
It's not the weather. You just have to dress for the weather. That's it, right?
Trump says his parade and viewing of the inauguration will now take place at Capital One Arena, where there's supposed to be a rally for him the day before. Supporters who traveled here with tickets question if they'll even get in.
There's 220,000 tickets given out to the inauguration, and this venue only holds 23,000 people. So we're wondering who are the 23,000 lucky.
Plans are to get here as early as possible, even if it means really dark, and getting as close as we possibly can.
The plans to move indoors will put a test to weeks of security and safety preparations. A team of Secret Service, federal, state, and local law enforcement says they're all working on what these changes mean for everyone. Throughout downtown D.C. and outside the Capitol, fencing is already up. While they prefer not to have to alter their plans, supporters also say they feel lucky to be here.
Even just being in this city for this great event and just knowing it's going to take place and knowing and looking forward to the great things that this country has been praying about and praying for. Yeah, just happy to be here.
That's Matthew Torres reporting. As for President Biden, he is spending some of his last weekend in office at the White House. On Saturday, he appeared to give a quick tour to a group of people visiting. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker appeared to be with the president. Biden had no public events on his schedule Saturday and will travel to South Carolina today before returning to D.C. in time for President-elect Donald Trump's inauguration on Monday. Happening today, Madison Magazine's Winter Restaurant Week will kick off once again. Our partners put on 2 restaurant weeks every year, with one in the summer and then one in the winter. And it's an opportunity for businesses to showcase their best menu items with some new things too. Since the pandemic, Madison Restaurant Week has continued to grow, and this week there are 43 participating locations. Madison Magazine tells us that's the most they've had since before COVID. So here's how it all works. You can go to channel3000.com and find a running list of all the locations taking part. Starting at $30, those restaurants will offer a menu with 3 courses, and some will also offer a lunch menu for $20. Just be sure to make reservations ahead of time if you can, and we hope you all enjoy what there is to offer this year. Time now is 6:38. Still ahead, a new health conversation on staying safe at home and on the road. Plus, Jacob is back with a look at the first warn forecast as our temperatures really drop at this beginning of the week. That's next on Weekend Mornings.
Good morning, everybody. Here's a look at the 3 things you need to know. Alert day conditions are expected to continue through Tuesday, but we are going to see those warmer temperatures begin on Wednesday. A few small snow chances for Wednesday and Thursday as well, but for the most part, we're not going to see a lot of accumulation going forward, so not a lot of changes in that department. But let's talk about the alert day. Again, it is right now all the way through Tuesday. Wind chills, even during the afternoon hours, will be well below 0. Throughout the entire time frame, we'll see wind chills between between -15 and -35. There is a cold weather advisory in effect for everyone. This goes all the way through noon on Tuesday. The National Weather Service is calling for wind chills as cold as -30 at times. Now, as we take a look at the wind gust forecast, that's going to be a big driving factor in these wind chills and temperatures. It's going to be breezy out of the northwest throughout the day. Wind gusts will be up around 20 to 25 miles per hour. A slight improvement for this evening, but then it is expected to pick back up a little bit. You know, it's not going to be too windy, but when temperatures are going to be as cold as they are, it doesn't take a lot of wind to create very low wind chills. But then the winds are going to pick back up consistently for Monday afternoon. Again, improving a little bit Monday night into Tuesday, and notice they're going to continuously be out of the west-northwest as they'll be, you know, between 15 and 25 miles per hour for the most part. But then look at Tuesday evening, still breezy, but notice the winds are going to be out of the south, and that is when temperatures will begin to warm up and the wind chills won't be as bad. But looking at the wind chill forecast until then, -20s throughout the morning, and then for the afternoon, they're going to improve slightly into the negative teens, but still bitterly cold during the entire day. And this is going to be a rinse and repeat forecast for Monday and Tuesday as well. Although Tuesday, at least during the morning hours, it actually could get colder with -30 to 35 degree wind chills possible, especially further north. Could even see some isolated locations getting near -40 for Tuesday morning. Now, Tuesday afternoon will be a little bit better, but still bitterly cold. And then we're still going to have wind chills below 0 Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, but they're not going to be as bad. Now, as we take a look at that wind chill frostbite chart, again, we've been showing this a lot. That red box is where we're going to be expected to see wind chills anywhere between -15, -35, which could cause frostbite in as little as 30 minutes, but at points we'll be close to that 10-minute range, so probably on average 20 to 25 minutes could cause that wind chill. Now, the good news is that, at least for you ice fishers, now you probably shouldn't be ice fishing the next couple of days, but the ice has become very thick on the lakes in Wisconsin. Mendota 7 inches, Monona 8 to 10 inches. Now, it is important that no ice is 100% safe, but it is worth noting that especially probably by Wednesday when temperatures warm up, it will be ideal ice fishing weather. So there is always some silver lining even when these temperatures are bitterly cold.
Jacob, have you ever gone ice fishing yourself?
No, honestly, I've never really fished in my life. Plus, you know, even though I did say it is mostly safe, no ice is 100% safe, and it definitely scares me over the idea of possibly falling through.
No, it's fun to go out on the lake, do some fishing, see what you can get. Just like that little video you got looping there.
Yeah, honestly, the idea of it is cool. I just haven't done it myself.
All right, maybe we'll get you out there sometime.
Yeah, maybe.
All right, Jacob, thank you. Well, a reminder that Chocolate Shop Ice Cream is hosting a fundraiser for Abundant Life Christian School this weekend. Today, the ice cream shop will donate 50% of its profits to the United Way of Dane County Fund. All 9 of the company's locations will participate. The fundraiser will run from open to close, and they're not the only restaurants giving back. We have a list of other participating restaurants donating to Abundant Life on our website, channel2000.com. Well, with winter weather officially here, the risk of carbon monoxide poisoning and other home safety concerns are rising. SSM Health's family medicine physician and wellness coach, Dr. Rupa Shah, will join us today with tips on how to stay safe at home and on the road.
Dr. Shah, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So first and foremost, the risk of carbon monoxide poisoning goes up in the winter, often from faulty heating systems in your home. So what are some things we should all keep in mind when it comes to CO poisoning?
Yeah, so carbon monoxide, or CO, is that odorless gas that can really cause potential health problems. And it comes from all those devices in our home, furnaces, heaters even, from our car, and we're not going to know it's there. So the main thing really to remember is to have really functioning carbon monoxide detectors in the home. Make sure they're working, the batteries are functioning, you've changed those, and it's a good idea just to have an annual check of those. And if you do develop any symptoms, headaches, dizziness, those are some of the first signs of carbon monoxide poisoning. And of course, as the symptoms get worse, people can get lethargy, just feeling really out of it, mental confusion, difficulty walking, and of course, severe poisoning can even cause loss of consciousness and even death. So,
goodness. So all things we just need to be mindful of.
Yeah, especially this time of year.
So let's talk about travel, whether it's driving across town to a friend's or a gathering across the state and beyond to visit extended family. family. What are some ways we can stay safe when the weather is unpredictable?
Exactly, and I was just talking to my son about this as he's planning a trip, and I said, you know, number one, make sure your car has been checked, right? Make sure that, you know, everything is functioning, fluid levels are good, brakes are good. You know, you don't want to be stranded somewhere, especially in the cold weather or for winter storm. Be prepared. That's the main thing, right? Be prepared. Know your route. Know alternate routes. Tell friends and family where you're going, when you're leaving. Keep in touch. Of course, always keep an emergency kit in your car too. Keep warm blankets, flashlights, candles, ice scrapers, you know, even snacks and food, a bag of sand or something just in case you do get stuck. You know, these are the things. Being prepared in the winter is the most important thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what are some things you can do to stay safe if you do happen to get stranded?
Yeah, again, hopefully you've notified somebody your route, right? Stay with the vehicle. Try not to go too far from the vehicle. You can start the engine, but maybe about 10 minutes every hour just to get some heat and stuff, but make sure one of the windows is open. Also make sure the tailpipe is not blocked because, again, carbon monoxide. So we just really want to be cautious of those types of things. Make sure you've got something, maybe bright clothing so people can see you, and make sure you're pulled off enough on the side of the road so that you're out of harm's way as well.
Yeah, you don't think about that with those snowy conditions, how it can block the tailpipe. I know it's happened, so
yeah,
just being
it can
prepared.
be really scary, right?
Yes. And so for people who need more information, where can we find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Wellness with Dr. Shaw.
Dr. Shaw, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And still ahead on Weekend Mornings, Andrew's in with a look at Saturday's sports highlights. This is Weekend Mornings.
Taking a brief break from the cold weather coverage, let's take a look at the snowfall. Now, for the month of January so far, we only have 0.6 of an inch of snow. Now, obviously, there's still more of January to go, but right now, that would be the second least snowiest January on record for Madison. And although we still have more of January to go, there's not going to be a lot of snow chances. Now, that number will likely increase at least a little bit. Even when we have some flurries, we usually get about a third or 0.3 of an inch of snow. But still, looking at the snow chances, it's going to be mainly dry. Best chance will be Wednesday and Thursday, and then again over the weekend. But we're certainly not expecting a lot of accumulation. So that snow, the amount of snow we've seen for January is likely not going to increase all that much. And here's a look at the accumulation forecast all the way through Saturday evening, and it shows Madison less than an inch of snow. So it's been a very strange winter in the fact that we've seen a lot of very cold temperatures, but as far as snowfall goes, we really haven't seen anything of it. It would make a little bit more sense if, you know, temperatures were warmer, but they have been on the colder side. So the fact that we haven't seen any snow is a little surprising.
John Blackwell seems to be turning into a star in front of our eyes, and he's a big reason why Wisconsin men's basketball has won 6 in a row, at least heading into yesterday. They're out in L.A. for the week, starting off their trip playing USC. The Big Ten newcomers simply weren't ready for Blackwell. The sophomore was sensational, knocks down the three, spurring a stretch where he scored 11 straight for Wisconsin. But if you know his game, he's not just going to attack you from deep. He attacks the rack. The dude is unconscious at this point. Wisconsin led by as much as 19 early in the second half, but the Trojans trimmed it until John turned it back on. And the foul. He finished with a game-high 28 points, and in the waning seconds put a cherry on top of his masterpiece with his first collegiate dunk. That's worth quite the celebration. The Badgers win it 84-69. We spoke with Blackwell after the game, and he said he was intentionally trying to set the tone early on, and also told us he was pretty fired up about that dunk.
Yeah, I think as a leader and a point guard, I think that's my job to come set the tone, whether it's just defense or scoring. Especially on the road, when you're playing a team on the road, you got to bring your own energy. So setting the tone early is definitely a key. Just felt amazing because I know I got bounce. I feel like I'm the bounciest on the team, but yeah, it just felt great.
The Wisconsin women played right outside the Twin Cities this weekend, playing against St. Thomas. They took care of the Tommies in the series opener, but yesterday they wanted more. If the #1 team in the country was trying to make a statement in this one, it came through loud and clear, and Layla Edwards was the messenger. 8 minutes in, and she gets the Badgers on the board with the goal. This was just the first period, but we're going to talk only about this period because she had quite the 20-minute session. A couple minutes later, she gets another one through the crease. That's 2 goals already in the first period. But she brought her favorite hat to the Twin Cities, wanted to show it off, and did. How about 3 goals in the first period for Layla Edwards? The hat trick in one frame. She had 4 in the entire game. The Badgers, they had 11 and won this one handily, 11-1. The Wisconsin men playing Long Island, who they beat in the series opener. They needed a shootout to solve last night's game, though. Sharks hit their first one, and Quinn Finley, who scored in the first period, looking for the good stuff, goes top shelf with the goal. How good has he been? One of the nation's leaders in goals. And later, the Badgers trying to win the shootout and sound the final horn. They do that. Christian Fitzgerald finds the crease. It goes down as a tie in the books, but the Badgers, they win the shootout 2-1. That's your morning sports fix. Have a sensational Sunday.
Andrew, thank you. And we have a full hour of news coming up here at 7. We'll be right back on Weekend Mornings. It's just past 7, and right now a ceasefire has come to the Middle East after a technical delay between Israel and Hamas. The details of when we might see the hostages returned is coming up. Plus, the stage is set for President-elect Donald Trump's second inauguration as tomorrow's events move indoors. Then later, hundreds marched through Madison Saturday as part of the nationwide People's March. What they have to say ahead of Donald Trump's inauguration. This is Weekend Mornings, and once again, we thank you for joining us. I'm Kyle Pazurski. Let's start with a look at the first warm forecast, and Jacob Montesano joins us with that. Good morning, Jacob.
Good morning, Kyle. And alert day conditions have begun. We're already seeing actual temperatures below 0, and the wind chills are well below 0, as we are seeing some breezy conditions out of the northwest, already -14 further up north in Eau Claire. And as we look at the current wind chills, -20 in Madison, a lot of the areas already in the -20s, and there's not going to be a lot of change the next couple of days. In fact, it may actually get worse more than it will get better for tomorrow and Tuesday. Now, it is cold down here, but take a look at some of the wind chills further up north in Canada. How about -68 degrees, so it's always important to see a silver lining with these temperatures. We could be some of these -40s to -60s as you head further north. But overall, obviously it's still very cold across our area, and throughout the day there's not going to be a big change. Actual temperatures will struggle to get above 0 today. We are going to see partly sunny skies, but that's not really going to do anything. As we look at the forecast throughout the day, it is also going to remain breezy, so the wind chills will continue to be in the negative teens, and that's going to be the case for La Crosse as well. So today, tomorrow, and Tuesday, expect very cold temperatures all day. I'll talk more in detail about that coming up a bit later.
All right, Jacob, thank you. Topping our news, a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas is now in effect. The truce came after a slight delay, with Hamas saying there was a technical delay in delivering the names of the 3 hostages due to be released to Israel. Israeli strikes took place after the originally planned ceasefire start time, and those strikes killed at least 13 Palestinians and wounded 30 others. The time for release of the hostages is expected to be around 8 o'clock Central Time. And looking live now to the nation's capital, tomorrow President-elect Donald Trump will be sworn in as the 47th President of the United States inside the Capitol Rotunda. A cold weather blast is forcing the change from the usual outdoor setting on the Capitol steps. He will become only the second president ever to serve 2 non-consecutive terms. CBS News correspondent Jared Hill reports from Washington.
Later today, the home of DC's NHL and NBA teams will turn over to host the pre-inauguration rally for President-elect Donald Trump. And now Monday, stand in for public viewing for his second inauguration.
Bit disappointed, but it needs to happen, so I'm looking forward to it. It's very historic.
Trump wrote, with an Arctic blast sweeping the country, the change needed to happen. adding he doesn't want to see people hurt or injured in any way.
We're not worried at all about that. We know how to dress warm. We can be responsible.
250,000 people had tickets to watch the inauguration on the National Mall. The rotunda only fits about 600, and the arena just over 20,000, raising some potential new security questions.
You have a lot of people that were hoping to watch this inauguration physically present who are no longer going to be able to do so. So there is a risk of mass gatherings in and around the inauguration site.
Now there's a scramble to get everything ready in time.
This will ultimately be the president-elect and his team's call.
The office of President of the United States.
This is the first indoor inauguration since 1985, when Ronald Reagan took the oath of office for his second term. It was 7 degrees that day.
I would stand in the 5-degree weather in order to support what he's going to do, what he did in the past, and what he's going to do in the future.
Jared Hill, CBS News, Washington.
And the forecast shows temperatures in the teens tomorrow morning, with the wind chill making it feel even colder, and attendees would have waited for hours to clear security before the event. And staying in D.C., a large number of protesters took part in the People's March on Saturday. Despite chilly winter temperatures and rain, protesters turned out in droves with signs and the iconic pink hats that marked the Women's March from past years. The D.C. People's March was mirrored by others held across the nation, rallying against the incoming administration 2 days before President-elect Donald Trump's inauguration. Similarly, in Madison, hundreds came out making their voices heard. News 3 Now spoke with many, saying it's not a movement of any one issue, but many. Highlighted issues included the war in Gaza, climate change, abortion rights, and transgender rights. The march's website described the event as a day of joyful resistance, community building, and powerful action.
I felt like it was important to really show that we are a community, and like there are bigger people's marches like DC or Chicago, but it's so important to know community and to find community within like the Madison area itself.
Some other major cities where the march took place included Portland, Oregon, San Francisco, California, and Boston, Massachusetts. President-elect Donald Trump has announced the launch of a new meme coin in the days before his second inauguration. Trump wrote on social media, quote, "It's time to celebrate everything we stand for, winning." He also posted a link to a website with instructions to purchase the coin. According to the site, 200 million Trump coins will be available immediately. A total of 1 billion are planned within 3 years, all while Trump is in the White House. Trump, who was once a crypto skeptic, has vowed to push pro-cryptocurrency policies as president. Social media app TikTok is officially banned here in the United States. The app went dark on Saturday night, less than 2 hours before a ban was slated to go into effect. Visitors to the app were greeted with a message reading, "Sorry, TikTok isn't available right now." The app would be back online, or rather could be back online as early as Monday, with President-elect Donald Trump saying he will most likely delay a ban on TikTok for 90 days once he takes office on Monday, but he has not made a final decision as of yesterday. Following the death of Brewers broadcaster Bob Uecker, Marcus Theaters is bringing the movie Major League back to the big screens, and they'll be doing so for a limited time at their Wisconsin theaters beginning next Friday, the 24th. The company says admission will be $5.40, with a portion being donated to the Milwaukee Brewers Foundation. Tickets and information can be found at marcustheaters.com. Wisconsin's tax burden is at its lowest level since 1970. A new report from the Wisconsin Policy Forum finds taxes aren't as heavy of a burden for the average Wisconsinite as in previous years. Since the year 2000, no other state has seen such a steep decline in state and local taxes as a share of income. But researchers say the burden could be moving towards people with lower income as the state leans more on sales tax.
As we shift more towards sales taxes tend to impact folks with lower incomes because they're spending more of their income on, vital clothes, cars, those sorts of things.
Researchers say there is a bit of a disagreement about what this means for the state economy, with some arguing a lower tax burden will result in greater economic growth. Others believe if you're not bringing in as much tax revenue, then you're not able to spend it on some state priorities. To an update on the wildfires in California, firefighters are making progress on containing the Eaton and Palisades fires. For over a week, crews have desperately been battling the flames. At least 27 people have died, and officials worry that number will rise. In the meantime, those impacted by the wildfires are desperately trying to get back home to salvage anything they can. Michael Yoshida has the latest.
As strong winds calm down, firefighters are making progress in containing the Palisades and Eaton fires. Of the 6 wildfires that broke out nearly 2 weeks ago, those 2 have been the most deadly and destructive. Entire communities burnt to the ground.
It's just gone. Everything is just gone.
Anne-Marie Pazmina lost everything in the Eaton fire. Her entire neighborhood is gone.
It's not just us. It's everybody, and it's so awful.
Combined, the Eaton and Palisades wildfires have burned nearly 40,000 acres in Southern California and destroyed or damaged more than 12,000 structures.
After the fires are out definitively, there is no greater priority than getting people back home.
Many forced to evacuate are still not able to return to their homes, so we're seeing an outpouring of support from across Los Angeles as well as the rest of the country to try and meet the needs of the community.
We were coming every day trying to see if we could get through.
Many of the areas destroyed are still only open to residents for safety reasons and also to keep out looters. Law enforcement officials implementing curfews to keep people away. It could be several more days before people are finally allowed back to their homes to assess the damage.
We will stand together. We will get this job done.
In Altadena, I'm Michael Yoshida reporting.
Coming up now on 7:10, still ahead, Madison Central Hispano celebrates Three Kings Day. Plus, Jacob is back with the first warn forecast as we wake up with a look outside at Platteville. This is Weekend Mornings.
Good morning, everybody. Here's a look at the 3 things you need to know. The alert day conditions have begun, and they're going to continue all the way through Tuesday afternoon. Still going to be cold by Wednesday morning, but by Wednesday afternoon, it'll be noticeably warmer. And we also have a few chances of snowfall Wednesday and then again on Thursday. So as we take a look at the alert day information, this is for all of Wisconsin, not just southern Wisconsin. The entire state will see wind chills between -15 and -35. And again, this is going to be through Tuesday. So throughout the morning today, we're going to see wind chills in the -20s. By the afternoon, they're only going to improve into the -teens, so it is still going to be very cold. And for Monday, we're going to have a very similar forecast. Wind chills starting out in the -20s, improving a little bit to the -teens, but still bitterly cold throughout the entire day. If you have anywhere to be, definitely bundle up. Shouldn't be outside for more than 5 to 10 minutes, though. And as we get into Tuesday morning, it does look like it's going to be even colder, with wind chills possibly as cold as at -35. Could even see a few isolated locations in the central and northern portion of the state near -40. So we're talking very dangerous wind chills at that point. If they're still going to be very dangerous until then, but especially dangerous Tuesday morning. Tuesday afternoon, still going to see wind chills in the -teens, and they're going to remain in the -teens Tuesday night into Wednesday. So Wednesday morning wind chills will be below 0 again, but they're not going to be in the -20s. At least it doesn't look like they will be. Now, looking at that wind chill to frostbite chart, we continue to show this to remind everyone how quickly frostbite can occur when temperatures are this low in as little as 30 minutes, but it actually could get closer to around 15 to 20 minutes during these morning hours when the wind chills could get to -30. So it is vitally important to bundle up, but if you don't have to be outside, you shouldn't be outside because temperatures are going to be dangerously cold. Now, looking at the full 7 to 10 day forecast, they're going to start to warm up on Wednesday. Highs will be in the upper 20s, then around 20 for Thursday, middle 20s Friday, 30s possibly over the weekend. But notice not a lot of snow chances. We are going to see a small chance of snow Wednesday into Thursday as the temperatures increase and the cloud cover increases as well. But we're certainly not going to see a lot of snow, certainly not enough to kind of counter the lack of snow that we have seen. So looking at Madison's forecast, again, Wednesday is when things will start to improve. Highs will be in the middle 20s Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And then we could get into the lower 30s for the weekend and Monday of next week. So although it is going to be very cold, it's not going to last forever. However, these next 3 days, wind chills will be below 0 probably until Wednesday afternoon. So that's going around... math is, I'm trying to think of the number, but around 100 hours if you count when wind chills started to be below 0 yesterday, all the way through Wednesday morning. So very cold temperatures even during the afternoon.
Yeah, it's especially difficult for people if you have any dogs that you need to take for walks or anything to go outside. That can be quite challenging, especially when you have so many days like this that are just cold.
Yeah, and even if you put a coat on them, it is important that their paws could be very, very cold as well. So I know a lot of dogs don't like those booties, but
yeah, gotta watch out for them.
I don't know about you. I don't know if you have a dog, but my dog can take a break from walks for a few days.
Oh, sure. All right. Jacob, thank you. Some other news around southern Wisconsin. 2 men are in federal custody in connection to a December bank robbery at a Chase Bank in Fitchburg. Parrish Barberry Weatherby and Daryl Shelton were charged with the bank robbery as well as an additional charge of brandishing a firearm during a crime of violence. Barberry Weatherby was separately charged with possessing 3 firearms as a felon on December 19th. Each face a maximum charge of 25 years in prison. A North Freedom man allegedly attacked a corrections officer while being booked in an Iowa County at the Iowa County Jail this past week. Iowa County Sheriff Michael Peterson says Niles Cox attacked a female corrections officer. Peterson says Cox will receive additional charges of battery to law enforcement and attempted escape. The sheriff's office additionally says the corrections officer was treated and released from Upland Hills Hospital the day of the incident. He was given a $60,000 cash bond and will have an initial court appearance on Thursday at 1:30 in the Iowa County Circuit Court. Central Hispanio is continuing a tradition celebrating Three Kings Day with the entire community, this time in their new headquarters on Madison's north side. Our Tanisha Shaw has more.
We want to come together at Central to really be in community. It's a very special day.
Karen Menendez-Collar is the executive director of Central. She grew up in California, where Three Kings Day is widely celebrated.
The kids are so happy, and I think the smiles just make me feel like everything's going to be okay.
Central Hispano has been honoring the holiday for nearly 30 years, using the Christian tradition to bring the community together.
It's been adopted by the greater Madison community, and it's become part of what it means to grow up Latino in Madison, Wisconsin.
Central also gave out hundreds of toys and painted faces for free.
We've been very intentional about having this event be the same weekend as MLK. We believe in social justice, we believe in the future, so it's another space to celebrate those dreams that our social justice leaders and our ancestors have said that we must continue.
Like most holidays, amazing, tasty food is essential. For Three Kings Day, we drink champorado and we eat rosca de reyes. If you're lucky, your slice may have a surprise inside.
The Three Kings came here to come bearing gifts and making sure that we know that we're special and we're taken care of. And so the cake is part of that, but the little baby Jesus inside is kind of like a symbol of like, you need to get back to the community if you get it.
Reporting in Madison, Tanisha Shaw, News 3 Now.
Well, Central said every year the community comes together to host the event with dozens of volunteers, businesses, and nonprofits all helping out. Still ahead now, Jacob is back with a quick check of the forecast. It is now 7:50. This is Weekend Mornings.
Now, when it comes to this cold weather, we are certainly not alone. Looking across the United States, a lot of areas under cold weather advisory. The dark blues are extreme cold warnings. And even further south, there are freeze warnings and freeze watches because these areas don't typically see these temperatures this cold. Now, I showed this earlier. Take a look at some of these wind chills up in Canada. Now, it obviously is important to know just how far north it is, but how about -72 as a wind chill? But also compare our wind chill up north towards Anchorage, Alaska. They're about 40 degrees warmer, at least the wind chill is, compared to us. So kind of mild as you go further west, but certainly cold as you head up north into even further north. Now, here's a look at the wind chills across the United States for the next couple of mornings. Notice how cold some of these southern areas are going to get. How about 21 feels like in New Orleans, 16 in San Antonio, 28 in Jacksonville for northern Florida. So, like I said, we're certainly not alone when it comes to the cold weather. Now, our area will see the coldest air, us and just to the north, but compared to normal, I mean, these areas to the south don't typically see temperatures this cold, and these will likely be some of the coldest temperatures they've seen in a few years.
All right, Jacob, thank you. Now to a fun story. When it comes to love stories, especially of old, it is not uncommon to be writing letters back and forth. And in some cases, those letters were actually recordings. So when a Minnesota woman found recordings containing loving messages between a man in the Air Force and a woman at home, well, she dove right into a mystery.
Oh my gosh, I love Goodwill. I love that you find treasures. And so going to Goodwill is how I kind of, instead of buying new, I try to find things thrifted and give a new purpose to them. I bought all these records, and once again, I was looking for jazz records, and I found them, and I picked it up, and I pulled it out, and these two little records came out with them. I thought, oh my gosh, score, 3 records for 1, rock on. Then I realized the handwriting, and it says like, on there, it's like a voice, from 1954, they would record their own messages, and I thought, what is this? So I put it on, and I realized it's, I believe, a husband and wife. The husband, it says on the envelope, he was an Air Force. And the husband is saying that he loves and he misses her, and he thinks about her often.
You, my darling, I say we can be together soon.
The wife, I believe, is saying that she works at the New Brighton Armory.
I got 3 letters from you the other day, and
I could not find any contact information. I tried looking them up on Facebook. I just haven't been able to find anybody to contact, because I don't know if their family's still in Minnesota, if they're out in California. So I'm hoping this new story will reach the right people. I unfortunately lost my grandparents at a young age. And so hearing this, I know if I was his family, I would give a lot to hear my grandparents talk about each other. Closure, kind of get closure for the family and for me a little bit, because it's such a valuable piece of history for them, this family history. And this is 1954, this is pre-voicemail, pre-social media, this is how they would communicate. I think it was a they might have cleared out a house, and it really was stuffed in that record. So I think they just didn't know, and it got put in the pile by mistakes. Writing letters is amazing, and when you're overseas, you just want to hear your loved ones' voices. I think that's the greatest gift, especially when you're training or when you're missing them. It's just hearing their voice is totally different. So I think, unfortunately, death comes for us all, and I think that having memories like this left behind is a great way to still have an impact on those future generations.
Girl can do it anymore now.